So we are going to find out more about what makes Dr. J. Amin tick. I've known Dr. J for many years, 20 plus years, and he's been a friend to me, a doctor to me, and taught me so many things, and I think you will be surprised and enlightened to find out so much about what makes him tick, where he's come from and where he's going, and hopefully you will learn some life lessons from him as well. Enjoy. Dr. J, where were you born?
I was born in Kenya.
In Kenya? Where's Kenya?
Kenya is in East Africa, and the city is Nairobi. I know you're going to ask me what city and what hospital. Nagara Road Hospital, in a room, not at home. But anyway, I'm just making it up.
So, where were your parents from?
My parents were from India, and in fact my parents were born in Africa.
They were born in Africa?
Yeah, but originally the family is from India.
Okay.
So Indian root.
Indian root.
Yeah.
Complete Indian all the way through and through? Everybody is Indian? Nobody, there's no other races, ethnicities in your bloodlines?
There's no blood transfusion either.
And so what brought your parents back to Africa?
They wanted to settle down there because their families were in Africa doing business.
What kind of business?
They were in pharmaceutical, retail type of business, and my father was a station master. So we went place to place.
Okay.
In East Africa.
Okay.
So been there, seen there, grew up there, early childhood.
Okay. And how many years were you in Africa?
I was there till age 6.
And what was that like, living in Africa till 6 years old?
I was 4 years old, and we lived in a town called Karatina, and then Neri. These are the names of the towns, because my father was a station master. We moved almost every year from place to place. So I can flash back to 4 years old. When I was 4-ish, that's when my childhood was with neighbors, kids, Indian kids.
There were Indian kids there too?
And also African kids.
Okay.
So
a mixed, diverse community?
Correct. And we used to go to the fields and pick up peas and eat corn and all that stuff in the field, you know, and at times see some wildlife, like, lions and stuff like that. Yeah, from a distance. So we were told not to do certain things, but anyway, like we would peek at different things, and it was like life with the nature. To the point then I was also interested into what's inside my body. So when I was 4-ish, I took a razor blade of my dad and put an incision in my thigh right here to look inside what's going on. So, but anyway,
that's fascinating. That's very interesting.
And tried to jump off the tree like a Superman. If a Superman can fly, why can't I do like Superman? So I had few episodes like that.
Okay. And so when you were 6 years old, from that point, where did you move after that?
So then we went in the cruise to India.
Okay.
And that was
what part of India?
It's Gujarat.
Okay.
So it was a great treat going in the cruise at that time. It's like looking forward to everything. And again, at the same time attached to parents. So we with parents all the time, type of attitude.
Right.
Which I lived with that attitude and lived with my parents more or less all their lives together.
Okay. So when you got to India, what happened then? Did your parents settle back in India, or did you just take a vacation or a trip, or how did that work?
You know what? Each and every line, it's a huge story. So, but I'm going to tell you in a nutshell. So they they were into foods. My mom was a great chef.
Oh.
And she cooked so well that the neighbors and the students, they enjoyed her meals, so it turned into a business. So we had a vegetarian club restaurant.
Okay.
And would have meals, lunch and dinner and for everyone.
Okay.
And I wet my hands there. So bringing the stuff, preparing it. And by the way, it's all vegetarian because we are basically all vegetarian.
And why are you vegetarian?
It's the way I was brought up, plus the philosophy that I grew up with, that live and let live. That's the first thing I learned in my life. So each and every animal, human being have right to enjoy, exist as much as they can. I know that we all gonna be transformed into something else soon, but that's the philosophy.
The philosophy.
Yeah.
And so your mother was a chef, a great chef. What was the best meal you can remember at that time? What was the best thing that she made that you just remember from your childhood? What was that?
Unfortunately, there is nothing like best meals, because everything was so awesome. She would make things out of lentils, beans, mixed with vegetables, the Indian spice cakes, very delicious. She would make tortillas with whole wheat and other barley and other stuff together. Then millet flour tortilla with the hands and stuff like that. So we all kids interacted. We are 9 of us. So we all interacted and tried to learn everything possibly we can and enjoy it, and go outings, make different dishes, And so it was always like enjoyable life, go out and tour different places, and that's what I remember is food. Besides food, I remember all the places that we went to. It was so cool to go, and that's why I encourage kids not just have healthier meals, not healthier, because that's how I want everyone to think, because there is always a healthier way of doing things. There's a better way of doing things,
right?
And that's why we have technology for humanitarian purpose. May not be used for that, but that's what it is. So everything can be better, and go for it. And Mom did not just give vegetarian meals and tourism, but the important thing that I learned from her is she was very persistent, adamant sometimes, but very persistent. She wanted to do something, and she would do something, and that's how it got into me. That you become persistent, consistent, perfection. She would take time to do things and do it so right, and then would try it out, something else. And that's how I learned that, okay, from her and also the other people around. I always had like a feeling of multiple gurus. So besides Mom, teachers, other neighbors, mentors. So everyone, quote unquote, is my mentor, because there's so much to learn, even from you. The way you think and the way you move and your artistic performances and things you create, Melanie, that is amazing. And that's what I enjoy, each and every moment in life, with everyone, with everything I can.
So was your mom very outgoing?
Yeah,
your mom was very outgoing.
She was a foreign minister.
A foreign minister. So through food and through friendship and through going and traveling, do you feel like you've been able to capture that and put it into your practice as a physician and be able to give that to people? It sounds that your mom was a big influence on your life on so many aspects. Do you feel like you've been able to give so much of that back to your patients and friends? Or do you feel like you've been able to bring even more to the table with different things that you've learned on your journey? How do you feel about that?
Okay, great question, truly. In India, I learned a lot of arts of Ayurveda, like natural medicine, besides foods, and yoga, music. I do music, I play flute, harmonium, keyboard, tabla, drums. I do all kinds of stuff. So I learned all these things, and then also we hear that in US America there are lots of bigger things going on, and that is the in thing to do. So I was always attentive about it and fascinated about the future. That I would go and do a few things and experience it. And when I did that type of thinking and accomplished things that I wanted to, of course there's always more to accomplish, right? So I wanted to accomplish not just medicine and food, but also how to bring entertainment to us. So I learned production direction here besides medicine, and I thought it's so cool, and wow, this is the in thing to do, but in US. But then I found out, these are the in things to do, great things to do, great people, great things, great roads, vehicles, nature, resources, people, ethics, moral, legal format. It is amazing. Of course, there are always 1% or less than 1% of people who may not follow the rules or good ethics, and then things get shaky for other people too. So that's what happens. But again, I learned that here, that whatever I learned in my childhood, all the foods, all the Ayurvedic, all the natural medicine, there is a in thing is coming back. So at that time I was a farm boy, quote unquote, and then I would enjoy those things. But then I thought, that's so old and it's outdated, and there's something new in America, and high tech and high chemical and pharmaceutical. But then I realized, no, there's something called naturopathic. Pharmaceutical is for acute things. You don't want to make that your lifestyle and take a pill every day. A pharmaceutical pill as much as possible.
So Dr. J, you and your wife, Risha, have been married how many years?
33 years.
33 years, and you have how many children?
3.
3 children, 2 girls and a boy.
Yeah.
Do they practice these same philosophies and concepts?
All our family members are vegetarian, and my wife is religious, and I'm philosophical. So this is how I see it. Some people say, do I believe in God and religion and all that thing? I think to me all religion is oneness, and God is a living being. So you are part of my God world, so Melanie. So this is how I see it. I don't see that God is at one place. It's like in all living being is part of God lives there. So if that's the kind of philosophy that's something that I follow, and I see the world might be going in that direction in the future. Things are becoming I should say, next generation, their values are different than older generations. So to answer your question,
have you seen that in your own children, in their generation? Have you seen the struggles that they've had to compared to your generation, and being in Southern California, raising your 3 kids with those philosophies, veganism, being vegetarians? How have the difficulties been for you to instill into your 3 children based on your geography of where you live?
Well, it's quite simple in a way. If the parents practice really well and they're very affirmative with their values, it happens automatically. So there was no struggle for kids to survive and this and that. There's so much foods, varieties and everything. So yeah, to me there was no struggle. Maybe other people struggled too much, but I don't consider it as a struggle. But because, as I said, all the problems or all the living practices, if you fuse it with enjoyment, it helps.
Okay, Dr. J, so you went to India, and what happened after India? You were what age when you went, took the ship and you went back to India?
I was around 6 years old.
6 years old, and then where did you go? Where did your family go?
I went to a place called Gujarat, where almost everyone was vegetarian, like 99% of people who would not drink alcohol. So that's the state of Mahatma Gandhi. So then I was attracted to that philosophy because that's what we were reading in the school, his books.
Whose books?
Dr. Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay. Gandhi. Okay. And so you were in India for how long?
I was in India for a good 15 years.
At what point, was it in India or where was it? At what point did you realize that you wanted to be a physician, a doctor, and you wanted to help people? At what age were you?
I was.
And why?
I was 6, 7 years old, and I just wanted to be a sportsman, cricketer, because everybody plays cricket and some other games, sports. So I always was fascinated with it. I said, oh, that's great. Be in nature and play and eat and enjoy life, and there's no point in going to school and study other things, And then little later it was all about carbohydrate and protein intake and how much and amino acids. I go, why do I have to learn those things if I just want to enjoy life this way and want to play sports? But then later on I realized that the music classes, the language, reading all books from Gandhi, also doing fasting at times with the family. So all these things do add up in building a great person,
right?
A great attitude. So that's something that I learned over a period of time. And then to answer your question, I had some friends, so they were very good students, like bookworms. So then I got a little interested, and then my older brother was a doctor, so my family kept saying, oh yeah, you can be a doctor, you can be a doctor. Then I said, oh okay, maybe I should try that. And then I got into it, and then I realized that, wow, this is really something that I can enjoy. Although I enjoyed engineering, drawing, architect, writing, producing movies, directing, writing songs. I do all kinds of things, But importantly, everybody kept telling me, oh, medicine is good for you. You should do that. You should leave that. You know all these things, and you can be very good and you're excellent. But you stay with medicine. And then I just listen. So there's something called you listen, you absorb, you try it out, you become consistent, persistent, and that's how I got here.
Okay.
Becoming an internal medicine and cosmetic surgeon.
Okay. So it sounds like there's so many facets to you, to Dr. J. There's so many different, you're multifaceted. So you decided to go into medicine at around what, in your teenage years? You made a firm decision to say, okay, I'm going to go into medicine, and this is the route this is the path I'm going to choose. So do you remember definitively saying, okay, I'm going to go into college?
Yeah,
and how did that happen? How does that happen, and how does that work in India?
Well, it's like you listen to parents, more or less, and they guide you, and they tell you this is good for you. So you just, think.
There's a natural progression.
That okay, I should try that, and then that becomes stronger. That will become stronger and stronger in high school, and then later part of the high school, it's just like I had a strong conviction I want to be a doctor, come what may, and then just go after it.
Okay, and so you went from high school, and then how does it work for college as far as that is concerned? Did you go to another country? Did you stay and study in India? Where did you go from there to do your studies?
I went to med school in Gujarat called Baroda Medical College, and I finished, and then I went to England. I might as well answer your two other questions.
Yes.
And from England, after 6 months, I went to Chicago at Cook County Hospital, and I did my internship, and I went to Christ Hospital, and I did my residency in internal medicine, and then I got also attracted towards aesthetic and cosmetic surgery. So I went into that field, and now I combine both the field. So it's like almost 360 inside out. And I tell people that let's take care of the internal thing, like how you wake up, like mind meditation in the morning with the first breath. So I teach them how one breath can make a difference. It's like even weight loss is 75% mind. So things like that, I incorporate alternative, I incorporate allopathic, pharmaceutical, natural hormones, acupuncture, art of physical therapy, art of yoga into my practice, along with all the laser for dermatology, cosmetic purposes. That's like something that I like. Like people go watch a ball game and they keep watching Lakers years after years, days after days, you know. To me, it would be just might as well just do aesthetic and cosmetic part and do research and development, and that would be something that I'm interested to. I'm interested in everything. It's like I want 100 lives so I can accomplish everything, but it doesn't happen, right? So what we do is I tell my patient that we need to live 125 years because that's possible, and the way you do it is you do it the way I was telling you, along with the natural foods, natural medications, as much as possible, and live non-toxic detox life. So that way there's so much toxicity in the environment that can be diminished.
Okay, I'm going to back you up just for 1 second and ask you, back then when you were going, not to say that you're so old because you look so young, obviously a natural, healthy lifestyle has done you very well. When you were back going through medical school and when you had come to the United States, you studied in England for a while and you studied in the United States, with your way of thinking of trying to inject positivity and healthy living, back then, would that be faux pas? Were you kind of against the grain? Was your thinking along the same lines as many other doctors? Because from my point of view, I think back then it wasn't so cool or hip to be into the natural side, you know, in Western medicine. So how was that influence on you as far as you almost being against the grain, or how was that?
Okay. I thought that Western medicine and nuclear medicine and CT and MRI, everything, and chemo and everything is the in thing to do and learn and practice. Then I sat back. I said, wow, all the research from NIH grants, you know, they spend $28 million a year to study all this natural medicine. So, and they find all these naturopathic and other alternative treatments, Chinese herbal treatments, acupuncture, they all are very beneficial. So then I knew many things in the past, but I did not practice in the past, thinking the Western medicine is the in thing to do, and you know, like, okay,
did you feel like you were sort of ahead of your time, or did you just not realize nobody else, that same way of thinking was not being established or even thought about in Western medicine at that time? It seems as though you were sort of way ahead of your time in thinking on doing things in the natural aspect. Is that right?
Well, just to answer your question, anything that comes out in medicine, naturopathic, I subscribe journals, electronic, go green. So I keep myself ahead of times, like 5-10 years in general, because it takes about 10 years before it catches up. Like internet was there, email was there, everything was there 20-25 years. I knew it's going to be a future, but I couldn't be doing medicine and become Google, Mr. Google, you know. I had all the ideas. I have ideas about all the naturopathic formulas and pharmaceutical formulas and how I do compounding pharmacy, and it has found more effective ways of treating with pharmaceutical, me compounding things, amazing things. But then how much can one person do in one life? And it's something that I try my best and try to network with other companies, other people.
People that think along the same lines?
Yeah, and who are supportive, and let them do things too. So whole idea is now also mentoring children and other people. In fact, yesterday there was a obese person walked into my office. She said, I don't have money, for blood test. I can't come more than 6-12 months for blood pressure medicine. So I treated her with all the weight loss armamentarium and everything. But then she has no job, no nothing. So she said nobody would hire her. She is 60 years old and nobody would hire her. So then I said, you know what, knowing you, why don't you go apply to places like Costco where you can do sampling? And she said, yeah, that's a great idea. And I said, you can buy medicine, it will be cheaper, 20-30% compared to outside pharmacies. Many pharmacies are more expensive. So I said, go to Costco and try these things out. And she was like, wow, that's a great direction. I learned a lot. And I said, okay, I'll do complimentary blood tests. I won't charge you. So we do things to make a difference in not 7 billion people at a time, but even take one person at a time and build up, and then do in small groups, in bigger groups. So that's the idea, is to prophesize good medical approaches to everyone.
Have you felt resistance from the medical community because of your way of thinking, and you have been so forward thinking? Have you felt a resistance because it seems like you've blended almost Western medicine and Eastern medicine and kind of melded them and met in the middle? Has there been a resistance? Probably not now, but before. Was it difficult to try to establish that types of practices within your own practice?
Well, I won't make a big paragraph. I'll make a small paragraph, even 2 letters. No, I think people are open.
Were they always open? Were they always open though?
They would not open to learn, but they didn't mind other people learn and do things. So there are all kinds of societies around: anti-aging society, functional medicine society, American Board of Internal Medicine, cardiology, pediatrics, osteopathic medicine. So there's so many faculties around, and I think the approach is you network and coordinate so patient gets proper or best care.
Right. Now, what made you go into the cosmetic surgeon side? What compelled you to go into that way of thinking and putting that into your practice along with internal medicine? What brought you into cosmetics, that side? Because that's pretty far. Being an internist in internal medicine and cosmetics are kind of far apart. So what brought those two together?
Yeah, it seems like far apart, but it's all in a circle. That's what, Melanie, I would like you to know. So don't think that way, number one.
Okay.
Number two, that's something that you see. When you see someone, you see the face. They say face is $1 million. So then I also ran into some patients in the past that they had certain issues, let's say double chin, they had problem with the hip fat. So I sometimes treated them for a year or two. Then I figured out that why they are depressed, because they don't like this type of fat or this type of appearance. And that struck me. I said, you know what, I should pay attention to everything, and I enjoy it. And I think I became great at everything from head to toe, treating skin, nails, hair problems. So that's
and you do try to work from the inside out, don't you?
Correct.
You
Always.
really do. And is that where you're doing the vitamins and taking all of the supplements and it's all natural ingredients. So did you formulate those based on, going from the inside out? Was that your internist side injecting that into that medical approach?
The answer is yes, but I start with meditation. So I teach everyone how to meditate. Take a deep breath and see yourself smiling, and put all your good life elements into you. That's what you do with the first breath. And all day you take deep breaths and revisualize with eyes open. And you think you be, so it makes changes in the brain. I wish I could tell all 7 billion people that just do this much. It doesn't cost anything. They don't have to pay me anything, royalty, no nothing. So that's why I created drjusa.com, so people can go on it and learn different facets and email me and ask me questions.
It seems like you're extremely approachable, and it's easy to talk to and ask you questions. And so your patients, what has probably been one of the most difficult on the cosmetic side? What has been the most difficult hurdle that you've had to overcome in your own practice and your own way of thinking in the cosmetic side of your practice?
To answer in two parts. The first part is, yeah, it is difficult to practice in the sense that it's a team approach, and somebody doesn't perform too well. Let's say there is a complication of pigmentation with the laser, right? So patient would say, yeah, okay, understood, sign it. But then when things happen, scarring of pigment, that's not good, and people get upset about it. Even though they are told, they have signed, they have a consent, but then there's so much hand holding for that. And that's why slowly I got into treating patients more conservatively. So you don't even run into those type of problems 99.9% of time. But again, it's going to happen to someone, but that's part of life and part of chosen life. So that's my answer.
Okay. Now, on the internal side, because people do live in a society where they're eating, cheeseburgers and meat and all kinds of stuff like that, have you seen a rise in the difficulties in losing weight, more cancers, depression? Have you seen a rise in that? And if so, what are you doing to try to combat that?
Well, there are two facets. One is rise and some fall. For example, certain cancers are well controlled, but there is no incidence of falling in, like lymphomas. Heart disease, they are better controlled than before. Stroke.
Okay.
But cancer has gone up now. Cancer has bypassed heart disease. So all these things interplay. But to answer your question about stress, depression and ailments, blood pressure, diabetes, a bettering lifestyle, thinking, again I go back to meditation. So thinking, eating right things, drink warm water, massaging gums in the morning.
And tell us why that's important to massage your gums.
Because there are so many bacteria, and massaging gum, it increases your immune system, and they found this, if you have a healthy gum, less stomach disease, less heart disease, less stroke, and now they find out less cancer. But point is, it's a great way of acupressuring your palate and massaging inside out. So that's something that if one does it and has warm water in the morning, a pot full of warm water, that helps a lot. And I tell people that have the water with minerals, because people are deficit in minerals. They need to drink more water because people are not drinking enough water. So they can get feel weak, tired, kidney stone, they're hungry, they eat. So I do all these innovations. So in fact, I'm right now putting water concept together with these minerals and certain natural things like a monk fruit extract into it, and other lemon extracts and everything together to create a healthy water. So that way people feel more satisfied and will be able to control their appetite better and be more energetic, less kidney stones, all of the above. As I said, supplements, they are not benign, they are medicines. So you have to be careful, you have to know how much, what and all that. So turmeric is great for infection, inflammation in the body, arthritis, tendinitis. Turmeric is great. All my natural products, Ziolife, it's on ziolife.com, ziolife.com. You find everything in all the products that I do, but I put turmeric inside. I put cinnamon. I put certain things.
And have all of these proven, these natural herbs and spices, have they been proven to help in the body, internally through supplements?
Chinese and Indian culture have been using this for ages, and there are anecdotal reports. And also there are some well-studied things in phase 1, phase 2 trial that these are, many of these are very good. So how to incorporate and how to bring it to everyone in a affordable way, convenient way, put it in the recipe, make it in mainstream, food as medicine. That is the challenge, and that is what people are doing, along with packaging innovatively, because people are seniors, they cannot open the packaging, but they cannot open the bottle. You try to open some of the bottles, it's so hard. So point is, you need innovations everywhere, and safety with plastics, and use glass and less plastics, and use paper bags, and environmental friendly, and global warming and all those issues. So if you become more vegetarian and more health conscious, and this, what I say, is the mainstream living, that would make a life a life.
So Dr. J, so you have seen a rise in cancers, and how in your practice with your patients, do people seem a lot more receptive to your naturopathic ways of thinking and those aspects you've added into your practice? Are they more receptive? You would think so, because of the rise of cancer and all the toxins and the known toxins that, you know, they're doing so much research on. Has it been easier or harder for you?
For me, it's much easier, like 80-90% plus patients and people I talk to, they're very receptive. You can always find 10% of people who are not that receptive yet, but again, that doesn't stop me telling them, because it takes time. And another thing is, depends where you ask this question, what state, because if you go in Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, Missouri, Texas, or Florida or New York, you'll get different answers, because people are more receptive in places like New York and California, and they are very proactive, and they are into changes, bring changes. Like Northern California is very proactive community. That's good. But again, there are reports now that Minneapolis is #1 in fitness. So,
really?
Yeah. So point is, knowledge is power. So many times you get, ideas about, oh, this is the way it is, but actual facts are different. So it's good to listen and learn every day, because there's no end to it.
Okay, let me backtrack for just a second now. Let's say I have diabetes. Okay, as a physician, with the way you think, combining the natural aspects with the Western medicine and all of your training, I have diabetes. What's your approach to treating me?
Okay, I'll make it very personal, with the universal values, which format, I would say. I'll ask you to do that meditation, the one I told you, Mel. Take one deep breath and visualize yourself smiling more, and put all the life elements into you and build up yourself and revisualize. So that's what I would say. Again, that are you doing it? Because that would have an impact for the whole day. You think you be. So then I would ask you the same thing about massaging gums and drinking warm water in the morning, and then you can have your breakfast.
And what, for a diabetic, what kind of a breakfast would you recommend?
That's what I'm trying to tell you. You can have multi-grain bread, but again, I try to tell people that people who have sugar issues, bad sugar issues, and obesity, try to limit it and increase your beans, like sprouted beans. You know, there are vegetable smoothie. You can make lentil flour, that certain tortillas made out of that. Now the new pasta shaped lentils are available. So it's pasta, lentils. There's no quote unquote carb, you know.
Right.
So I tell people that even if you eat beans and greens, you can live a good healthy life. Just that. So if people cannot maintain vegetarian life, they would eat fish and chicken. You know? So greens, beans, fish, chicken type of lifestyle. But again, being a vegan physician, I just let them know, you know, that I'm a vegan physician, and this is the way to eat different dishes. And also, I would ask you to take cinnamon with it. But again, our ZioLife has cinnamon, for example. So we tell them to take ZioLife. So that's why I created things like that. And then exercise in the morning, and I tell them to use dumbbells, 5-10 pound dumbbells. So you do dumbbell dance, whatever way you want to do before you eat. So you could do just for 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes, but without dumbbell dance, you don't eat. That's one of the ways of exercising. So then there are medications that you can take, naturopathic, to control sugar. So these are Eastern medication, or I would say medicines, Chinese herbs that can help you. But again, not everyone is controlled with this lifestyle. Then you enter into pharmaceutical, and there are medications. Now there are newer medications which came out. There's one called Invokana right now, where if you have a problem with the sugar and blood pressure and or weight, this medicine helps you to lose weight, do a sugar balance and blood pressure balance.
And what is the
3 in
medicine
1.
called?
It's called Invokana, Invokana. Just came out. So point is, it's good to know and try it out.
Okay.
So that's pharmaceutical. In thing to do right now. That it would take a while for people to catch on to this. As I told you, it takes a few years, or 5-10 years sometimes, to become mainstream, you know. But it'll get there. So you start with this type of approach for your diabetes control, and then you can always add insulin, Byetta. There are other medications. But then there are reports now that certain medications are on the watch list. So they're watching Byetta and they're watching Januvia because it might cause cancer of the pancreas. So they found precancerous tissue. Point is, there were Actos medicine that hardly anybody uses it. It's still around, but I don't use it because we found out long time ago that it can cause bladder cancer. That Vioxx pill was another one that caused trouble. I quit long time before even people quit. I quit that medicine, Avandia, for diabetes. I wouldn't give it to you. Now they pulled off, but it was here for many years and people kept giving it. I never gave Avandia after the first report or something, because you become sensitized about it, and there are other options. So why give things that can cause cancer, you know, or problems or heart failure? So these are the things that you want to pick up in life, that you don't want your patients, like hormones. People take hormones, they keep giving all this hormones, birth control pills, everything to women. Of course, you give it when it's a must, but that must is a very small portion of population. But it's given so much that it goes in your water and earth and everywhere. So it's like used like candy. And people have to be so careful. They come out now with natural. Everything is so natural. Take it. No, natural is like, what is it? Natural can have harmful effects. There are certain herbs which can kill people too. So, you know, Chinese herb, there are certain plants which are poisonous, right? So there is a whole spectrum. So you have to be careful.
There has to be a balance. There has to be some kind of a balance.
Selectivity and balance.
Absolutely.
And common sense. I tell people to increase their common sense more and more, because it's a good idea to increase common sense, and that's how I come out with many decisions. You know, some people say, oh, I'm very good at sales, I'm the world's best salesman. I said everything is selling, but it has to be educational sell. And I hear there are so many comments that these patients went to so many doctors and the families bring them to me, and often they ask me, how come doc they listen to me? I said, I don't know, I don't do any magic, but you just have to be so thoughtful, passionate, careful.
And listen to your patient.
People do listen, almost all physicians, but it's how do you listen and how often you listen, how much you listen, that's important, and how do you follow up? There's no follow up because it's the system is so quote unquote messed up in a ways. It's all segmental. If I want to practice in different states, I can't just go and practice. It should be universal. It should be a universal type of licensing.
Yeah.
So it's a united. It's like United States of America. We are really united. So let's say really united and do it that way.
Right.
So there are many things like that people need to know, use common sense, grow their philosophy, meditate on these things. It's not about pouring money in medicine. You know, there are people who want ventilator, this, that, and there are people who say, no, I don't want any of those things. You know, life ends anywhere. Let me go. I've lived enough. I don't want those machines and chemo and everything. So there are people like that too.
Okay. Okay, so just going down kind of the list of diagnoses that are huge in America. So we covered diabetes, heart disease, and obesity. What is your best approach to that? How do you handle your patients that have heart disease and obesity? What are you doing to make changes on a broad scale for people that have obesity and heart disease?
As I said, that 75% of weight loss is your attitude, your mind. So that's what the attitude, if you add up with all the words, it comes to 100%. That's interesting.
Very interesting.
So besides that, more vegetarianism is good, healthier, and I'd say more vegan people are, with the lower carb, like grains, eliminate grains as much as possible.
Okay.
If you have that attitude, like greens and beans attitude, that's the best. And walk 6 miles a day, 3 miles this way, 3 miles this way, total in 24 hours. So if somebody just did these things, basic things, life would be beautiful. And that's one of the reasons why I came out with this fightobesitywalk.org, which is something that I want everyone to join, because it helps other people too. If you're not obese, it will help other people. Plus, it will prevent you becoming obese, because 2 out of 3 are overweight or obese in America, and they say by the end of the century it could be in 90s if it continues. So point is, why not become proactive with this type of attitude and prevent it? It's preventable. So that's what my effort is. Although I used to do a lot of rehab on unconscious patients for years. I took care of them on ventilator, but then I thought, you know what, I want to spend more time in preventive medicine and treat at the same time. Of course, I do endoscopies and stress tests and vascular and varicose vein procedures, get rid of all those big ugly veins and all those things. For the weight issues, for pain issues, for edema issues, you know, we do a lot of medical stuff. The whole idea is prevention. That's our undertone, strong undertone, and that's so darn important that it is not practiced well.
Exactly, it is not practiced well.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of you should start a school of some sort and teach other physicians your schools of thought? you've taught so much to your patients, but so many more physicians, I think, that are coming out of college and doing their internships and whatnot. Have you ever even considered possibly teaching all of these philosophies and these concepts and marrying the Eastern medicine and the Western, marrying them, the two together, and teaching other physicians? Because I think that, so many people would be more open to that, like we've said, more open now because of our environmental and, society concerns. But have you ever considered teaching not just the patient, but more on the physician level?
Yes, I do that. Some resident came from Arkansas to do interning with me, rotation. There are some integrative and functional medicine societies, so I encourage people to join that. So functional medicine, that's what we're talking about, alternative. Acupuncture, incorporating into it. I have physician assistants who come and do rotation with me and teach them all the arts and philosophies, how things could be dealt with in a wholesome way, not just holistic, not just allopathic, 360 way, how you approach. But everything takes time, and that's why I'm trying to get drjusa.com going, so there will be more centralized information that people can learn from that, and put these videos on YouTube, on the website, and this would give more airtime, hopefully, so people would learn. So this is the way to do is do your best, and that's all we can do.
I have a question kind of off the mark. So it's got to be stressful. You manage a practice, you have a whole vitamin program, supplements. You do so much. There's so many facets of you and what you do. That's got to be stressful at times. To say that you're not stressed would be say that you're not human. How do you deal with the stress on a day-to-day basis, juggling and managing so much and not taking on your patients' hurts, and if they've had a cancer diagnosis? What do you do to sort of decompress? I know your mantra, but what is it that you do? How do you manage to keep balanced personally?
Okay, that's something that I get asked once in a while, but I'm happy that you asked me that question. Life is full of problems. There will be more problems with your kids, my kids, with neighbors, with patients. There will be issues, animals, all kinds of issues. The important thing is to take that problem and become innovative with it, and fuse humor to it. So it's just like humor underneath into everything. So if you infuse like a recipe these things and find innovation, direction, and also if you have a philosophy that life ends anyway, what can be the worst thing? Disability, pain, death, sufferings, but it's gonna happen someday. If we lived 125 years or 126 years, so that's, if you become philosophical, and if you tweak it with all these elements that I told you with, then it becomes not a stressful situation that I have a stress and I have to do this and do that. No, I'm busy, but I enjoy it, and it's like work is enjoyment. So problem and everything becomes enjoyable. You find that direction, you work on it, and then you'll be able to do that. So practice that, enjoyable, and it will happen. So it's like mantra. Like I tell people about mantra, about life. They say, what kind of diet I should be on? I said, just say your life goal is greens and beans, like me. or greens, beans, fish, chicken, oatmeal, whatever you want to eat. So that's your life goal. So you have your mantra. So my mantra is greens and beans. Greens and beans means meaning by greens and protein. You know. So if I have these greens and beans or greens and protein in my head, greens and protein is my life mantra, and I say it loud and out. I say it inside. Then I don't have to restrict myself. I feel free. I would eat anything, everything. I tell people, don't get inhibited. Oh, I can't eat this. I can't. No, eat whatever you feel like, because you're gonna feel right very soon, because you have this mantra going. So that's important, to have this mantra going, life goal going, and not worry about, oh, I can eat this, I can eat this. Don't worry about it. Just get this mantra and conviction going stronger and stronger in your head. That's it.
Okay. And do you do anything recreational? Do you play any sports? Do you golf? Do you do anything active? Do you dance? What do you do to blow off steam?
I consider myself as one of the world's most innovative choreographer, because I used to write, produce, direct movies and videos and write things and dance and do all kinds of things, in a very entertaining fashion. And I like humor, comedy. In fact, I took stand-up comedian classes. So doing that, writing, producing, directing, everything in the past, making a couple of movies when I was your age. So I did all these things, but I couldn't be doing everything all the time. So that's something that I just want to produce. But now I wanted to produce a American superhero called the Porcupine Guy. So what the Porcupine Guy does is just has these spikes which helps the humanity, So good spikes and evil spikes. So evil spikes will kill the evil into that's in everyone, that type of concept, American superhero. So the thing is, I couldn't be doing anything. So what I do is I would just do whatever is humanitarian, more humanitarian, increases the value, mentoring children, because they are the ones who would bend more so than adults.
Right.
So focus on that, and there are people who focus on that in a good way. There are people who focus on that to capture the business, turn into that. So, you have to be mindful of everything.
So no golfing?
Oh, yeah, I golf once a year because that's not much time. I play tennis, I play flute, I play keyboard, I play tabla, the drums. I do the whole 9 yards in music. Banjo, I have so many instruments that I'll show you. So life is full of music and instrument. I'm singing more or less in between patients and between projects, or even during projects. I'm singing. Could be loud and out, could be inside, but there's a music going on, and I create things and I write, and thoughts fly away so fast, so I just put them into my memo. So this is how I do it.